Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtodasat Shri Srimad Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtodasat Shri Srimad Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Prabhupada Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Prabhupada Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की श्री मायापुर धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की हरिनाम संकीर्तन की ग्रंथा श्रीमद् भागवतम की सामवेद भक्तवृंद की ISKCON वर्तमान गुरुवृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी all glory to assembled devotees all glory to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Ready? That's right. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Okay. I cannot see who is on the Zoom. I can see there are few devotees here. Okay, we'll do Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhavashta Sakhi Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So there are, I think, few copies of Bhagavad Gita here. You can grab them and put it back when you're done. So we're reading from chapter number 6, text number 5. Chapter 6, text 5. Okay. You find that verse 6:5. Make sure you have it open before I recite so you can repeat. Okay. Chapter 6, text 5. Please repeat after me. Uddharedatmanatmanam. Uddharedatmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadaye. Natmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhur. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhur. Atmaiva rikuratmanah. Atmaiva rikuratmanah. Uddharedatmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhur. Atmaiva rikuratmanah. You want like to chant? Yes. Your name? Kavish, please chant.
Uddharedatmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva hi atmano bandhur. Atmaiva rikuratmanah.
Anyone else?
Uddharedatmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva hi atmano bandhur. Atmaiva rikuratmanah. Uddharedatmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadaye. Atmaiva hi atmano bandhur. Atmaiva rikuratmanah.
If you had a copy of Gita. Okay, so because I think it's difficult for them to hear if any one of you read the purports, I'm going to read the translation and purport. Translation and purport by Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One must deliver, Mataji 6:5, chapter 6, verse number 5. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport. The word Atma denotes body, mind and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nations. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. One must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh bandhaya vishaya sango mukyair vishayam manaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrita Bindu Upanishad number 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Om Jnanatimrandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today, okay, all right. So today is what? July 4th. What is it? Independence Day. Okay, I got independence from Mass just for the lecture. All right, thank you, Prabhu. It's good. Okay, so today is Independence Day. What is Independence Day?
The day the United States got free from British.
Yes, that's Gopi is saying the day the United States got freedom from the British Empire. So I think we cannot hear anybody on the Zoom, right?
We can.
So if they speak, then we can hear. Huh? Okay. So because I cannot see them, I'm just asking. Okay, so, and when did we get it? Today is the day, but what year?
1776.
1776, Chaitanya, very smart, 1776. So in 1776, on July 4th, we got independence, the United States. Of course, they made the declaration at that time. Probably on the 2nd, they made the declaration. On the 3rd, they let people know about it, and 4th became the day of celebration. But I think the actual annual celebrations probably started happening a little later. At that time, however, how many states were there in the United States?
13.
13 states, right?
and Connecticut is one of them. It's actually called Constitution State, is that right?
Yeah.
Connecticut. Why is it called Constitution State? Does anyone know? I just saw that while I was driving by here.
Constitution was drafted here in Connecticut
Okay,
before it went up to Massachusetts.
I see. Okay,
Actual signing.
so Constitution was drafted here. So Connecticut has this history of independence, right? Freedom. They need to fight for freedom. So what were they getting freedom from? Okay, from British Empire, but what did that mean? Why?
No more taxes.
No more taxes. So Gopal is saying no more taxes. She's history major in bachelor's. So no more taxes. So this is the freedom they wanted, right? So it's then economical. Freedom is okay, you're taking a lot of money from me, I don't want to give you money. So therefore I need freedom, independence. And does anyone know the Independence Declaration? The very famous few sentences.
It's we the people.
Yeah. It's specifically, I have here a couple of sentences. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. But this is very interesting, right? This is more than 2 centuries ago, and precisely 200 years. Any mathematicians? 24 plus 21, 245, 245 years ago. They had faith in God. They're talking about the Creator. And we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. That means they are believing that somebody created us. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. They are acknowledging that the rights are given to them by the Creator. And among those rights, 3 things they mention, which is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's interesting, the whole idea of, and this powerful message, right? It was signed by the 13 states, they declared independence, and gradually, how many states do we have now? 50 states in the United States, right? Came together, belief in God, even on the currency notes, in God we trust. You see that? So this nation was founded on this belief that there is a Creator, there is God. But then, what exactly is the freedom and independence they're talking about? It's about self-governance and freedom from somebody imposing taxes on them, and also giving freedom for an individual to pursue his own happiness. He has the right to his life, right to self-defense, right to life. No one can try to control that person. He has the freedom. And this is particularly in the United States of America, this ontological independence is very prominent, that I am independent in thought, independent in actions, creative, innovative. This is pretty much very dominant in American society. So in this verse that we are reading today, it is also talking about independence, to deliver our
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Fake. Prabhupada's father was a great devotee of Krishna. They were very wonderful. And Prabhupada's father would often feed sadhus. Any sadhu comes to the house, he would used to give them prasadam. And some of them, they would come, take prasadam and everything, but they would go out and do bad things. So Prabhupada did not have good impression on these so-called sadhus. So when his friend said, there's a sadhu in town, he's going to speak on the Vedic philosophy, why don't you come? And Prabhupada said, I am not interested in these so-called sadhus. But his friend said, no, this sadhu is very, very special. He's a wonderful sadhu. He's actually a true sadhu. You must come. And he took Prabhupada's hand and he just took him, let's go. All right, okay, Prabhupada then went. And Prabhupada was wearing this khadi. Khadi is the clothes that you make out of cotton. And in those days, people were making their own cloth. This is as a rebellion against the British. British would take the raw materials from India and they do some manufacturing, bring back and sell it for very high prices. So they gave up all the other cloth and started weaving. Sometimes you see the picture of Gandhi with, I don't know what you call this in English, cherak or something you say in Indian languages. So you spin it, you spin that wheel and then you make a loom. You make the cloth and they, then local people will make the cloth, you put that on, khadi. So Prabhupada was wearing that and then they paid obeisances to the sadhu. And as they got up and they were sitting, and immediately Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, young men, why don't you preach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking world? And Srila Prabhupada was shocked, We just walked in and we paid obeisances and we hardly sat down and he's already giving us instructions. But what was he? He was a follower of Gandhi. He was in the independence movement and fighting against the British, the same mood that existed on July 4th, 1776, and even prior to that, and that mood of independence that is being celebrated today. So in that mood, Srila Prabhupada said, Swamiji, who will hear this message of Krishna consciousness? Right now, India is in the clutches of British. First, we need to set ourselves free from this bondage, and then we can spread this message. The most urgent thing is freedom from British, right? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I have this here, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied in a quiet, deep voice that Krishna consciousness didn't have to wait for a change in Indian politics.
nor was it dependent on who ruled. Krishna consciousness was so important, so exclusively important, that it could not wait. So that means there's nothing more important than this Krishna consciousness, which is actually the true independence movement. The independence movement hasn't stopped yet. It will only stop at the time of death. We have to keep fighting for freedom, using our mind to be free from this bondage for the real freedom. And that real freedom is in Krishna consciousness. And that is more important, and that's the most important freedom movement. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at that time, that was his opinion. Even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time, India was under whose rule? Muslim rule. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they obstructed Krishna consciousness movement, then he started the civil disobedience movement. That's the first civil disobedience movement. Millions of people marching on the streets of Mayapur, Navadvip, protesting the rule, not exactly the rule, protesting the orders that were given by the what's called Qazi, the magistrate of that particular city. But however, he didn't care much who was the king. His main thing was spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. The rulers will keep changing. The main thing is Krishna consciousness. Everybody needs Krishna consciousness. So for that, we need to understand the bondage. And the bondage is, some of you said, the sense objects and the material nature. What kind of bondage? In what way does it bind us? In what ways does it bind us?
So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Jayate Vishayam Purusa Sannyastation Prajayate Sannyasam Jayate Kama Kama Purita. So basically, it gives us anger for it.
Okay, so it will bind us by making us angry. Yes, false ego. False ego is another source. And what you said, anger, that's also right. Correct. So if you get to the root cause of this bondage, where did it start? What is the bondage? The prominent experience of bondage is actually birth, death, old age, and disease. From this, okay, we may get freedom from a little bit of anger, but ultimately, until we conquer birth, death, old age, and disease permanently, there is no full freedom. That's what the material energy is the one that's giving us these things. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. To be able to see this bondage caused, Srila Prabhupada says, this birth, death, and old age. First, we must understand this is the bondage. And why did we even put into this bondage? The root cause is false ego. What is false ego? False identification of who we are. What is the true identification of who we are? And what is the false identification of who we are? We're servants of Krishna. That's the true identity. Jivera Swarupoe Krishnera Nitya Dasa. We are the servants of Krishna. But what happened in the spiritual world, this is our nature. But we thought, I want to be separate from Krishna. And that's called false ego. False identity of who we are. Consciousness means I am. In the Bhagavad Gita introduction, Srila Prabhupada says, what is consciousness? This idea of I am. Aham. That's why we call it ahankara. Ahankara. In Sanskrit, aham means I. Right? Ahankara is this false ego. So when that identity of Krishna servant becomes that I am separate from Krishna, that's called false ego. And that's the predominating element of the Mahat Tattva. And from that false ego of the Mahat Tattva, then this material modes of nature will spring up. goodness, passion, and ignorance. And from goodness comes the mind, and also different demigods who control various senses. And from passion comes the senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the working senses. And from ignorance comes the gross matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then the contemporary subtle tanmatras, which is the senses, sense of touch, form, what else? The equivalents of the sound. No, earth, water, fire, air, ether. In the ether there is sound, and in the earth there is smell, the water there is taste, the fire there is form, the air there is touch. So these 5 elements, and then what's called tanmatras, the objects that we perceive from these are the products of mode of ignorance. So now we have false ego, we have the mind, we have the intelligence, we have the working knowledge acquiring senses, and we have the sense objects made of the gross matter. Now the soul is conditioned by all of these things, all of these different elements, these 24 elements. So we are covered by all of these things, and that's the bondage we need to get out of. That's the conditioning we need to come out of. And what helps? How do we come out? And that's everything else that you said is simply a combination of these things. The gross or subtle combination of these things will create the bondage in this world. And this bondage is so strong, it starts at an individual level, right? The identity of false ego, who am I? In the very gross state, it's just about me, right? I. And when it is extended a little bit, where does it go? I, and then, okay, we, but the we has value because it is mine. Aham mameti, janasya mohoyam aham mameti. We are illusioned by I and mine. So when we identify I with this body, made of these various elements, then we create further identity of this is mine. Now that's the extended identity, I and mine. But both the I is wrong, I am not this body, and mine is also wrong, because whatever is we call as ours, it will disappear at the time of death. We disappear at the time of death, and it remains there. And Srila Prabhupada gives this example when there is this freedom fight for independence, and then the British, when they left, they created a mess in India and Pakistan. They wanted to be separate nations, and there was in Calcutta, where Prabhupada was there, 4,000 people died. Not because of coronavirus, not because of any disease. And it was not for even independent struggle. It was Hindus and Muslims fighting with each other. Why? Because first of all, they thought, okay, we need to kick out Britishers, and this is our country. But then they said, oh, who is mine, who is not? Hindus are mine, Muslims are not mine. Muslims thought Muslims are mine, Hindus are not mine. And started fighting with each other. And the people leading the independent movement from India side, they wanted to be a united country. But there is a person called Muhammad Jinnah. He wanted a separate land for Pakistan, for Muslims, because he thought Muslims will not be happy in India. So he fought for a separate nation for Muslims, and he called that as Pakistan. And all the Hindus from Pakistan started coming to India, migrating, and Muslims from India started migrating to Pakistan. And while they were going, when they met each other in between, they started fighting with each other and killing each other. And the fighting became so bad, when they died, Prabhupada said, now all those dead bodies have to be cleaned. Now, when they took away those dead bodies, nobody knew which body was Muslim, which body was Hindu. Because it was the soul in that body falsely identifying, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, but there's nothing on the body written that this body is Muslim, this body is Indian. Both looked alike. There was no difference. They looked exactly the same. So the so-called freedom they were fighting for, this, they didn't have this actual knowledge of who they are. Then what to speak of fighting for something? So this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was telling Srila Prabhupada. Right? We need to understand what freedom is. And that's what Krishna consciousness will give us. And we need to be free from this bondage of all these things. And I said these three modes are binding us. What were the three modes? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Right? And how do these three modes bind us? Which one is better? Goodness, passion, or ignorance? Ignorance is bliss, right? That's the best one. You don't have to worry about anything. Huh? Sometimes people think ignorance is bliss. Like little children, no problem. They are under the shelter of mom and dad. They think everything is all right. But as you start becoming aware, oh, there's so much to this world. It's not so easy. You wonder when you are little, particularly when you start becoming a teenager, you think parents don't know, they just don't know anything. Only if I was in charge, I could make this world a better place. Right? But as we grow up, as we have some knowledge, then we start understanding things properly. Mode of ignorance is upside down. We think irreligion to be religion, religion to be religion. In the mode of ignorance, the condition is pramada alasya nidra. The bondage that is caused by mode of ignorance is, Krishna says, badnati, this tamoguna, it will bind in three different ways. Through madness is pramada, alasya means laziness, and nidra means sleep. When we are sleeping too much, then we should know that's the bondage I need to be free from. And laziness, what is laziness? Procrastinating. We just don't want to do anything. We don't have impetus to do anything. Just sit there. And I forgot, there is a story Badnath Maharaj told. They were trying to figure out who is the laziest guy. And then they put everybody in a room, and it started becoming hot, and everybody was running away. And one guy was sitting like this, and then it became hard. Then he turned it this way. Then why did you turn? Because this side is hard, that's why I turned this way. So he was even lazy to look around. He was thinking the heat is coming from one side, so let me turn the other side, and then I'll be all right without getting and going away. So we are so lazy in the mode of ignorance, not want to do anything. That's the gross state of bondage, is in the mode of ignorance. And in the mode of passion, karma sangena badnati, mode of passion binds us through fruitive activities. What is a fruitive activity? Working for a result. What's wrong in working for a result? How does it bind? Yes, working for desiring a particular outcome with the intention that I am going to enjoy that outcome. Right? It's I want a particular result, but for what purpose? For my enjoyment. So there is activity in the mode of passion. There is no laziness in the mode of passion. That person is not lazy, he's actually active. So, but however, his being active is motivated by a desire to enjoy something. If I work hard for this, I'm going to get something and then I will enjoy. And imagine what happens when you don't get that result. It's devastating. It's so hard. People work, all of us must have experiences in life. You work hard for something carefully, day after day, with precise plan in mind. I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. And just last moment, boom, it's gone. I had a friend and he got married and he put her wife through law school. And he spent all this money and she had this graduation and they're celebrating. And fourth or fifth day after the graduation, she had brain stroke, never to recover. And then his life is totally collapsed. He spent 5-6 months with her in the best possible hospital, spent every single penny he had. He quit his job and psychologically became depressed and everything, and boom, gone. Because we have a focus, this is the goal that I'm aspiring from, and we become attached to that goal. And when things change, our identity is destroyed and we feel there's nothing else is left. Please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong in working for some result, but identifying ourselves with that outcome and thinking that my identity is in that outcome, it will destroy us when that outcome doesn't happen. So then it becomes so difficult. Okay, so then, all right, so it's bad to be lazy, to be mad, and to be sleeping. It's good to be active and working, but then it's dangerous if we focus on a particular result for our enjoyment. That will also put us in a dangerous position. Then higher than that, which is also bondage. The bondage in the mode of ignorance is like putting iron shackles around us. The mode of passion, it's like silver. Use silver chains to bind us. It's better than the iron one, just for the worth of it. I'm bound by a better, better shackles. And in the mode of goodness, it's like golden shackles. But mode of goodness is also binding. In what way mode of goodness binds us? How does mode of goodness bind us? Yes.
I think Prabhupada mentioned that things like becoming proud because we're vegetarian happens when we're non-vegetarian.
Okay, so thinking that what I am doing is right, being a vegetarian is a thing in mode of goodness. So yes, in the mode of goodness, your habits, the activities that we do, the kind of understanding that we have is clear. Mode of goodness is prakasham. It is illuminating. So when there is illumination, what happens? You can see things as they are. If right now there is no light in this room, we'll all bump into each other. But when there is light, we can see things properly. So however, the problem with mode of goodness is jnana sangena sukha sangena cha badnati. It will bind us by knowledge and happiness, material happiness, and the knowledge of protecting ourselves from passionate and ignorant activities. What happens? We become attached to that state. Oh, I eat sattvic food. I'm better than these fools who are just eating whatever they want. Right? Oh, they don't know that if they do that, they'll get stuck and they'll become angry. I am detached, I am being careful in navigating through this thing. But that knowledge and that feeling of happiness derived from making choices in the mode of goodness has also potential to bind us by making us attached to that one. So what happens if we become attached to mode of goodness? And that's what we want to experience. That's how we want to live. What does that mean? That means I figured out how to live in this world. And I like to live in this world. And I like to live in this particular way. And that's the environment I want. And as soon as you say, that's what I want, I'm attached, then Material nature will keep giving us the same thing again and again. And what does that mean? More bondage. Repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. Even if you are in mode of goodness, coronavirus will attack, right? Oh, this Prabhu is in mode of goodness, so coronavirus I should not attack. No, disease will come. Disease will come to everybody, to the person in mode of goodness, in passion, in ignorance. How about old age? Does people in mode of goodness become old? Yes. Does people in mode of ignorance become old? Yes. In passion become old? Yes. Does people in mode of goodness die? Everybody will die. 100% death rate. Everybody will die. And the fact is, jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur. Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. What is the translation? Can you? Yeah, everyone who has taken birth must die. And everybody who dies must take birth again. And this is the cycle of birth and death, samsara. Samsara means that which is flowing, continuously flowing. Like a river is continuously flowing. It's called saras, right? Sagara. So these rivers, when they are the flowing, this material world is continuously moving and flowing. Birth, death, old age, disease. Birth, death, old age, disease. We are going in the samsara chakra, the wheel of samsara. That is the true bondage. Bondage through mode of goodness, ignorance, passion. At a high level, that's the bondage. And now, did we get freedom from that bondage on July 4th, 1776? No. The freedom struggle hasn't stopped. We have to keep fighting for real independence from this bondage. And that's the purpose for which our acharyas have given us Krishna consciousness, which is beyond the national boundaries, which is beyond so-called race, which is beyond so-called religion. Everybody must die. Hindus die, Muslims die, Christians die, Jews die. Everybody will die. All of us must solve this problem of birth, death, old age, and disease. And everybody, at least in the United States, as for the ancestors who wrote the Independence Declaration, they believe in the Creator. So the real freedom is to get free from this bondage by connecting back with the Creator. And what will help us? Our mind will help us in doing that. Uddhared atmanatmanam, using our mind. Mind is the leader of all the senses. It is the central aspect of everything. And what is the best way to control the mind? Loud? Thinking of Krishna. Yes. And the best way to think of Krishna is through chanting. The word mantra is also described as that which delivers the mind. That which delivers the mind is called mantra. And for this day and age, the means of deliverance is through Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And that is the process for getting out of the bondage of this material world, is chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, focus the mind and hear the Maha Mantra, and through this process, hearing, chanting and remembering Krishna, we will be free from the bondage. And that is the true day of independence, when we are able to do that, when we are able to be free from that bondage. And then we can have fireworks, right? Independence Day means fireworks. Will there be fireworks here in the parks?
Yes.
Yeah? Usually, okay. Like where I came from, Idaho, we are like right in front of my house. If you sit, put down chairs, and there are big parks, and they have beautiful fireworks. I heard the biggest one here is in New York, right? They have the fireworks. Okay, yeah. So that enjoyment and everything is through Krishna consciousness. When we are able to develop our pure love of Krishna, that is the state of liberation. That is the true state of freedom. And that's what we should aspire for. So we have about 7 minutes. I will stop here. And any comments or questions from any of the devotees? You can share your reflections also on Independence Day. When you woke up, what you thought. Yes, Gopi?
I was thinking that Krishna.
One sec, I think Prabhu will give you microphone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I was thinking that Krishna is called Swaraj in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yes.
which means that he's independent. So when we realize that we're his servants, we're the servants of the most independent person, then we'll also achieve independence from the material nature.
Yes, very good point. Abhigna Swarat. Krishna is described as he's all-knowing, he's fully conscious of everything, and he's independent. And we are trying to get Swarajyam, Swaraj. In India also it's called Swaraj movement, right? The true meaning of Swarajyam is to be under the, Prabhupada translates Swarajyam as devotional service. In one of the verses of Bhagavatam it comes up. Means being under the kingship of Krishna. That is the true independence, is to be able to serve the Supreme Lord. And of course, Krishna is the supremely independent and we have minute independence. But our minute independence is properly exhibited only when we are engaged in the service of Krishna. Otherwise, we will be suppressed by the material energy. And when we have pure love for Krishna, then we can serve Krishna in amazing ways that even Krishna will be surprised. Wow, wonderful, the way you serve me. Yeah, good point on Swarat. Anyone else? Any comments, questions, your own reflections today on Independence Day? Yes.
This is a funny reflection, but the garlands are in the color of independence.
The garlands, okay. Oh, I see, okay. We have blue, we have red. There may be white inside somewhere. No? Yes, blue and red is the main one, right? The stripes. Yeah, we have the independence colors. Actually, in Idaho, we do Rath Yatra on this day, and we try to dress Jagannath in those colors. And our claim is he's the Lord of the universe. You know, he's the master of this country and all the world and throughout of the universe. Krishna is the master. And we have interesting things when we do that in the parade. One time there were like atheists. They were kind of in the front, but somehow they were left behind, right? So atheism is the back of God. And one time there are these like Miss Idaho and all these pretty girls. And I think they were in the back and they came in the front. They were dancing, you know, waving for Krishna. Jagannath is enjoying. And one time there was fire truck. It was very hot, and the fire truck went in the front. And it's what they do is when they go in the fire truck, all these firefighters they hose down everybody, right? And the kids, they have water guns. As soon as the fire truck comes, they shoot water guns, at the firemen. And then it's so hot, and when our chariot went, it was so cool and nice for Jagannath, right? So somehow or other, in that parade, it always happens that sometimes there'll be salute by the military, and the jet planes pass by, and sometimes it happens just when our float enters into the parade, and they go like that. And these are all, just miraculously things happen. So you're supposed to stay at a place, the parade goes on, and when your number comes, then you join in the parade, and it lasts for about 25 minutes to half hour. And so many things have happened like that on the July 4th. And, we try to participate in this mood of freedom, but then we'll be chanting for 25 minutes, going in the parade, and everybody will be so happy. Wow, this is the life of the parade. Otherwise, okay, they're going and stuff, but now here you see people dressed in colorful clothing, and they have wonderful kirtan and music, and we have these little prasadam packets, about 5,000-6,000 of small prasadam packets we pass around. And it's like just July 4th, Jagannath, the Lord of Universe. So the colors, yes, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Your reflection helped me, brought back my memories. Okay, 2 more minutes. Final comment, question from anyone. Madhav Kanta Prabhu, what are you thinking? Nothing. You have anything to say, Ganapati Govinda Prabhu? He is wearing blue mask. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And to elaborate?
So we have our senses and they make demands and they make us do sometimes terrible things.
Mm.
And we just get dragged along with the force of the senses. So Vega is the word that is used in the
Upadesham.
instruction.
Yeah.
Vega. So it is so demanding, it is so urgent that we just get dragged along with the urges of the senses.
Yes.
So the real freedom is if we actually can get free from the urge of the senses somehow or the other. But obviously that can happen only when we surrender to Krishna. Only with the mercy of Krishna we can actually subdue the senses. Otherwise it's very difficult to subdue the senses.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Very good reflection. Yes. Alarnath Prabhu.
Few years back, I think 4 years back, I read latest from Prabhupada to Gandhi.
Yes.
It's very interesting letter all of us should read. So he wrote a book, Experiment with Truth.
Yes.
So he was thinking that is truth, Hindu Muslim unity. When Pakistan was created.
Yes.
So Prabhupada was saying that experiment with absolute truth.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
should all experiment with absolute truth.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the way to get real freedom.
Yeah. Thank you. That's also very, very important point, Okay, so I think it's 5 o'clock. We'll stop here now. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
निताय गौर चंद्र की की बजयो जयो गोरा चांदे आरोतिक शोभा की बजयो जयो गोरा चांदे आरोतिक शोभा जानवी तत्वानि जगा मन लोभा जानवी तत्वानि जगा मन लोभा राखी ने निताय चांद कामे गदाधर राखी ने निताय चांद कामे गदाधर निकाते अद्वैत श्रीनि वास छत्र अंगेरारोतिक शोभा जगत जनमा शोभा Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste
विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace A.C. भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद गौर किशोरदास बाबा जी महाराज की जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय ओम विष्णुपाद सार्वभौम जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की नामाचार्य हरिराज ठाकुर की प्रेम को कपूर श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री मायापुर धाम की श्री वृंदावन धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की हरि नाम संकीर्तन की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की ISKCON वर्तमान गुरु वृंद की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की श्री जगन्नाथ भगवान सुभद्रा माई बलदेव भगवान की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Guru.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Srinivasacarya Bhagavan ki, Bhaktaraj Prahlad Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna everyone, thank you for joining for the special July 4th Independence Day program. So we don't have any fee sponsors for today. If anyone would like to sponsor, fee sponsorship is only $125. Anyone would like to sponsor today's program?
Prabhuji, this is OP. Can I sponsor? I'm on Zoom.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you so much. Gopi Mataji ki.
Prabhuji, can I add one thing? Today is my mom's death anniversary, so it can be for her. Her name is Sushila.
Sure, Mataji. Okay, so moving ahead with the remaining announcements. So as we were discussing during the class, the real freedom is the freedom from the demands of the senses, the urges of the senses, and we have an opportunity to become free from the demands of the senses tomorrow, because tomorrow is the Ekadashi. So it is recommended that those who can fast from grains and beans. So, chant more, read more scriptures, spend more time in spiritual activities, in Krishna conscious activities. You can also serve devotees, distribute books. Okay. So we have two very sorry. Looks like the mic doesn't want to pass. Can hold it. Okay, so we have two very important festivals coming up. July 18th is going to be the Snan Yatra festival. The Lordships will be coming to the new temple for the festival. So please mark it on your calendar. And then when we have Snan Yatra, the next festival is Rath Yatra, exactly. So we have on July 31st. So the Rath Yatra this year will be held at the park, opposite to the temple. It's a riverside park in Glastonbury. So we are not going to have it in Bushnell or neither in the parking lot. So we are trying to also get the Novak Avenue for the parade. So there is a chance that we might get the Novak Avenue, so we can take the parade from starting from the new temple to the park. But in case we don't get it, we'll still have the parade inside the park. So and we might also have the Festival of India team coming. So It's going to be a grand festival this year, so please mark your calendars for that. So with that, we'll move on to the pre-sponsored kirtans. So that's the next question. For who? Prabhu, you said for all the Vaishnavas. What do you want to tell us? Haridas Thakur, thank you. So, Bhakti Maharaj is still with us in the sound. So, thank you so much, Opi Mataji, for sponsoring the feast. So, we are going to have the Gita Nagari milk for those who get them Gita Nagari milk. Please don't leave without the milk. You can contact Madhav Kanta Prabhu. He can, have the milk be sent to you. And Opi Mataji will coordinate with you for delivery of the prasadam, for the feast sponsor prasadam. We are going to have takeaway prasadam from outside. So when you leave, you can collect your takeaway prasadam from outside. It will be in 2 go boxes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Do we have anyone here who is visiting us for the first time? Oh, thank you so much for joining. Is it your first visit to this temple or any ISKCON temple? Oh, you have been to other ISKCON temples? Okay. We have a gift for people who visit any ISKCON centers for the first time. So because you have been to the ISKCON, so okay, right. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we are closing the Zoom meeting. Hare Krishna. Yeah, okay. So please wait for the prasadam boxes. They are coming. Bye.